Season 4, The Snarls of Lava, it's live in Dragonheir Silent Gods. In today's video, we're going to test every single damage gear set to see which one of them is better for our damage dealers. We have 4 different ones in the Grave of Venom, guys. Keep in mind, this season, we don't have the Emperor set. That was the only set that was really making a massive difference depending on what sort of boss you are basically fighting. This set should pretty much work exactly the same on every single boss we have in the game. First, I just want to say a big thank you to Dragonheir for sponsoring today's video. And if you guys are new around here, new on the channel, if you haven't tried Dragonheir Silent Ghosts just yet, or you want to help and support the channel, you can download the game by clicking the link in the description down below, or in the pinned comment, or by scanning the QR code you see on the screen. So without further ado, guys, I am currently on the test server. I'm quickly going to show you exactly what damage sets we have. So we have the Emissary's Whisper. Basically, you're going to get attack, you're going to get skill haste, and a 3-piece set. When releasing ultimate skills, the hero gains 4% damage bonus up to 5 stacks, which will increase your damage overall by 20%. So this actually sounds pretty good. Then you have the Echo of War, which will give you attack and attack speed. Gains 50% attack speed at 3-piece. Whenever basic attacks trigger a critical hit, the current damage dealt is increased by 10%. This is amazing for Dauntless, but we're going to test all of the sets on Dauntless heroes as well. Then we have the Shade of That, which will give you attack and crit rate, and at 3-piece, when dealing a critical hit, 10% of the crit damage difference between the hero and the enemy will be converted into damage up to 20%. But again, it's only up to 20%. So you already have this one right here that already gives you up to 20%, and you're getting skill haste. Now, each one of these sets will have pros and cons, because one will give you skill haste, which is not necessarily very useful, for example, in the Temporal Vortex, because you are timing all of your heroes to go at the same time, right? Usually on a 20 seconds rotation. Of course, for the damage dealers, it can always be different. You can do 19 seconds if you accumulate enough skill haste. Shade of That will give you crit rate, which will enable you to build your characters a bit easier. Then we have the Unclean Bloodline, which will give you attack and enlightenment. Of course, this set will be much better on characters that deal derivative damage. So it will increase the derivative damage dealt by the wearer by 25%. The thing with characters that deal derivative damage, guys, usually you don't build them with crit rate, you build them with a lot of enlightenment and attack. So this set, in my opinion, would still be the best for characters that deal derivative damage. These are all of the sets. We're going to head over to the Temporal Vortex. I'm going to show you all of the teams, all of the builds, to see how I try to basically match all of their stats. And then we're going to see which one of these sets comes at the top. So we are on difficulty 4, guys. I will have 5 different teams that I want to try out. So I'm going to have basically 2 teams that are just using regular damage dealers. So right here, we're going to have Ice Blast with a Shade of That. And we're going to have Ice Blast with an Emissary set. Then we are going to have 3 Dauntless teams. And we're going to run Echo of War on one team, Shade of That on one team, Emissary on the other team. Now, I'm not going to equip all of the characters with these sets, only one character. So for the Ice Blast, we have Naja that will be equipped with the right gear sets. For the Dauntless, Shagrel is going to be the main benchmark character for the test, you know? So I do want to start with the Ice Blast. I'm going to run 5 minutes for each one of the teams, guys, just to ensure that they will be on playing field, basically. And we are going to see which one of the sets actually performs better. So I loaded the Shade of That. This is what we have equipped. They will have the same artifacts, and I am trying to get pretty much the same sort of stats on them. Maybe with a bit of a plus and minus on the attack, or a 1 or 2% more crit damage, depending on the gear. Of course, I wasn't able to match it exactly on the dot with everything. But this is the build with the Shade of That on Naja, which is the Ice Blast. So this one, I have a feeling that the more crit damage, the better. But then again, it will always be a 20% damage boost. So I would assume the higher the crit damage, that 20% will get bigger as well, right? Will be 20% of the difference. So if I have 300 crit damage, it's going to be much better than having 150% crit damage, okay? But I do want to try on realistic builds that most probably we are going to run throughout the season. So here we go. We're going to take in Forest being the first team. We have the same skill timing for all of the teams, of course. And first, I want to see the regular teams, right? Dauntless is a bit more special because it's all about basic skills. But for the rest of them, regardless if we're running Wild, if we're running Ice Blast, Corrosion, etc., it will be the same cup of tea. Of course, for poisons will be different as well because they need enlightenment and other fancy things. But for the shade of that, on a regular team, which is Ice Blast, we're going to see how well they are going to perform. Now, I'm not going to stay and milk it, guys, so I'm going to fast forward at the end of the run, 5 minutes in for each one of the teams. I'm going to show you the results. We're quickly going to discuss it, and then at the end, we're going to make cross the line, basically, and see the difference, you know. So the first run for the Ice Blast team with the shade of that, it's over, guys. We dealt 78.4 million damage. But what matters right here is the damage that Naja actually brought to the team. 38.2 million damage. That's the number that we gotta keep at the back of our head because we are going to move to the other team. So just quickly to show you again the stats that we had on Naja, just for whoever is curious, you can see them right here. I tried to get full crit rate on all of them. It was pretty hard to achieve that on the Ice Blast team. But for the Dauntless, I actually went overboard with the crit rate just to ensure that we are keeping them at 100% crit rate to have no RNG whatsoever. Check out this build, for example. You see, pretty much the same attack, pretty much the same crit damage. I think I have like 40 more attack on her here, but the exact same crit damage. And this is the Emissary's Whisper set. And this will give us basically 20% damage up. It's pretty straightforward. So we're going to see how well will this team perform here. So let me just quickly put all of these characters in line. And we do have the aura for her, which we used before as well. Let's crack on with the run. I'm going to fast forward again all the way to the end of the run, guys. 5 minutes in, and we're going to see what sort of damage we're getting with this build. So the Ice Blast run with the Emissaries set is over, guys. And as expected, is a much, much better damage. We have 85.3 million damage in total. And we have Naja with almost 44 million. So we have 43,841,000. So we have a difference of around 5 million from the previous set to this one. So Shade to Emissary. The Emissary set seemed way better just by literally looking at the description of the set, you know. Let's just imagine that maybe you're gonna get 250 crit damage on a Naja and you're still gonna have 100% crit rate. Then it's a probability that the other set will out damage this. But it's not very likely for any of us to get so much crit damage and full crit rate, to be very honest with you guys. So I do think that this set is definitely much, much better than the Shade, you know. So right here we have the Echo of War set, which basically will increase the damage for every critical hit. So whenever we're using the basic skill, right? That should be the case for every single hit with Dauntless. That's the main idea. I'm very curious to see if this will outperform Emissary or the Shade of that. So this is the build that I have on Shagrol on this set. Ignore the fact that I have an extra crit rate. That's just to ensure that I'm able to keep the crit damage and the crit rate and the attack in a very similar spot for all of the three sets, basically. You know, so the Shade of that, for example, you see we have less crit rate. We still have pretty much the same attack and crit damage. For the Emissary, again, I try to get pretty much the same sort of stats, but because of it, I had to basically give him an artifact that will give him crit rate. If was no way in hell I was going to be able to match the same stats and keep a decent amount of crit damage. So that was my main thing with it, to keep a good amount of crit damage as well, because Shade of that benefits from more crit damage. So I just wanted to kind of like put it on plain field to have an accurate benchmark, right? So we have the same skill timing for all of the three teams in here, guys. We're gonna start with the Echo of War. I do need to quickly just put the team in order, basically, to make sure that we're gonna be able to get what we need. Does she have? Yeah, she has that. So we're going to put Garrus at the back, even if he's gonna go at the front after, which is fine. We're gonna keep the defense aura, and again, 5 minutes in the run for each one of these. I'm very curious to see which one of the sets will work better on Dauntless. because they are very, very different characters, right? They were completely different. So I'm curious to see which one of them will actually come at the top, you know? The result for the first Dauntless test, guys, is here. So we have Shagrel with 9.9 million damage, which is a pretty good result considering that we're not using a lot of big boy damage dealers. 5 minutes in the run and we have 27 million. This team will most probably hit around 50 plus million damage, because we're going to be able to survive quite a bit with Garius and with Ardred in the team. Let's move over to the next set. So this one was the Echo of War. The shade of that is basically the set that we tried the very first time on the Ice Blast team. This will basically increase the damage based on the crit damage difference in between you and the boss, right? So very curious to see what's going to happen here. These are his stats again, if you're curious. Let me just quickly put the team on to make sure that they're all going to be safe and sound. We have the same defense aura. And yeah, this set will be a bit different. I'm very curious to see if these two sets that we're going to test next will actually out-damage the set that was designed specifically for Dauntless characters. That's my main curiosity. So a Dauntless team with a Shade set is definitely not better than the Echoes of War. We have 25.4 million damage, and we have Shagrel with 8.5 million damage. So we actually lost almost 1.5 million damage by using this set over the set that was designed specifically for Dauntless heroes. We are going to move over to the final set, guys, which is the Emissary. So this one, I have a feeling that it will be very close with the Echo of War. Maybe it's even going to come on top of it. So these are the stats. Again, I have 1% extra crit damage than on the previous one. Not going to make such a massive difference. And the good thing about testing stuff in Dragonheir, you don't have RNG if you have 100% crit rate. Of course, defense down can be resisted or something like that, which it can happen, but again, it's not going to make you lose millions and millions of damage if it gets resisted once, you know? So going over to the Emissary, again, we quickly have to set up the team to make sure they are spot on, same aura, same timing, and let me just put it back on 10x. And we're going to see if this set actually comes at the top for all of the teams that we have in Dragonheir Silent Gods. And as expected, guys, this set is actually doing better than the Shade of Death, but it's not doing better than the Echoes of War on the Dauntless characters. And it makes sense because, hey, they designed the set for the Dauntless characters. So I guess that set should basically outdamage all of the other ones when we are talking about Dauntless heroes, right? So we have 25.9 million damage, and we have Shagrel with 9.1 million. So he gained basically around 600k damage on this run. Now, of course, here it can be a bit of RNG with the defense down, because the difference is pretty small, you know. So I wouldn't necessarily jump to conclusions to say that the Emissary set absolutely demolished the Shade of Death in this team, you know. But they did have the same stats, which is actually very, very important and very helpful to ensure that we have a very accurate tier list for these damage gear sets. But let me just quickly head over to the spreadsheet. This will help us understand which set is the best in Season 4. So for the Ice Blast or regular teams, Corrosion, Wild, Thunderbolt, etc., is going to be pretty much the same result regardless of what set you're using. Shade of Death has 38.2 million damage. And then you have the Emissary's Whisper with 43.8. Clearly, the Emissary's Whisper comes at the top with a massive difference, right? You have over 5 million damage in difference. Of course, we haven't used the Echo of War on the regular teams because that's designed for Dauntless, and the regular teams, they're not using the basic skills so often to get crazy damage like the Dauntless. Now, for the Dauntless team, guys, we have the Shade of Death with 8.5 million, we have the Emissary's Whisper with 9.1, and we have the Echo of War with 9.9, which clearly makes it a better set. Much better than the Shade of Death, actually, and quite a bit better than the Emissary's Whisper. This will help us understand which one of the gear sets are better in Season 4 for our damage dealers. Of course, I do want to mention one thing, guys, and this is based on your RNG. If by any chance you're gonna get a God tier Shade of Death set, and your emissary set will suck, then the shade of that will most probably outdamage a weak version of the emissary set. That's one thing to keep in mind. Was the same in every season, you know. If you have very, very good substats on a specific set, will most likely outperform the other one. But if you have them at pretty much the same level, it's crystal clear which one of the set is better. The reason why this is important to know as well, guys, is because a lot of people will be very tempted, of course, and you will have to do it to refine your equipment and to use the Philosopher's Stones. Like this, you know what sets to prioritize for your characters and don't basically waste your Philosopher's Stones. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, make sure you smash a like, subscribe to the channel. Thanks to Dragonheir again for sponsoring today's video, and if you guys want to get involved, you can download the game by using the link in the description down below, or in the pinned comment, or by scanning the QR code you see on the screen. Appreciate all of you watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.